Everybody, good evening. Today is Friday, September 20th, 2024. It's 6:38 p.m. in Colombia. Mike, and I bid you welcome. Not to a class, not to a review class, not to a really class, but actually, I just want to chat a little bit. That's why, if you can see, today's title is not review class or whatever, but it's let's chat because I just want to chat, share a few thoughts with you. Hopefully, you're going to fully understand because I'm going to go full in English tonight. Maybe 10, 15 minutes. I don't know. Anyhow, first off, I really want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. I see there are some people here. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Remember, please, now that you're here, you know what to do. Like the video. It's for free, and it's a way to show your appreciation for the channel. So I would really appreciate if you being here now live, then you go and say, yeah, I like the video, share your video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And also I want to thank the people who's watching this video later, because as I do with every other video, this video is going to be as part of the content of resources of the channel. So thanks to all of you, and also special thanks to the members of the channel. I'm gonna release a video. Actually, in a few minutes, I'm gonna release a video. If it's not yet, I think I'm going both. I'm releasing a video right now because I remember I scheduled the video for tonight regarding object pronouns, and that's gonna be a class. It's important if you can watch the video. It's a video that's supposed to be the video of the week, 15-minute English in 15 minutes, and it's about object pronouns. And it's funny because today I was trying to make a video for my other channel, the other channel that I have, which is Spanish with Mike, and I was trying to make the video about object pronouns. For us Spanish speakers, it's way easier to learn object pronouns because in English it's way too easy. Object pronouns are way too easy to learn in English. But if you are a native English speaker, and if you want to learn object pronouns in Spanish, wow, that's so freaking hard. It is confusing. It is hard. It is a hard topic, and it's way related, directly related, strongly related to verb conjugation. And being verb conjugation one of the most difficult aspects of learning Spanish, so go figure, that's gonna be so hard. So right now I'm posting a video. I hope you're gonna enjoy that video. It's understandable, and remember, you have to go and practice. Now tonight I wanted to go full in English, and I hope you're understanding at least some part of the things that I'm saying. I don't know what's the level of the people who's watching right now the video, but hopefully you're going to be able to fully understand what I'm saying and the things that I'm going to share with you just tonight in a few minutes, because this is not going to be long actually. So learning English, a lot of people say, yeah, I want to learn English, yeah, I really want to do that, but not quite, because first off we need motivation. We need a real motivation in order to learn another language. In my case, let's say I love Japanese, and I've always loved Japanese, and I have this kind of books which are fully in Japanese. I understand some of the stuff. This is a book a dictionary that I use for calligraphy, because as part of my taste and love and appreciation for Japanese culture, I practice some Japanese arts, being one of those calligraphy, and that book I use for that. And it's funny because although I really love Japanese culture, I've never had the enough motivation for learning a language. I know how to say some stuff in Japanese. I know words, I know sentences, I know some structures, I know how to read some Japanese, but I'm not fluent in Japanese. I cannot keep up a conversation in Japanese. And it's because the lack of motivation. Angel Hernandez, thank you for being here. Good afternoon from Mexico, says Angel Hernandez. And good evening here in Colombia. It's 6:43 p.m. right now. So good evening. Remember, Angel, that in Spanish, I mean in English, we use good evening usually after the sun sets. So let's say here in Colombia, once it's past 6, the sun is pretty much setting. So we say good evening, right? Um, Sometimes, let's say if we are in Spain or if we're in the United States and it's summer, it can be like 9 p.m. and it's still the sun is still there. So we say, okay, good afternoon. So it's okay. So don't worry. So good afternoon and thank you for being here, Angel Hernandez. So I was saying that a thing that I've lacked of is motivation, and I'm pretty much sure whenever I get the real motivation, it's gonna take 2 years. I would say 2 years. Oh yeah, Eduardo, I know. I know, Eduardo. I know you've been kind of. That happens. It's something like what happens with me and the guitar. With the guitar is the same. Let's say I have a period of time in which I go way deep playing the guitar for 1 year or whatever, and then I stop for another year, and then I go back. It's like a roller coaster, you know. It's ups and downs. Sometimes that happens, but there's a motivation there. With in my case with Japanese, I don't have that motivation. I don't have that. Well, that is not as strong as I would like it in order to start learning how to speak. Plus, I would have to keep that motivation and energy in order to find a language exchange partner and such and such. I know I can do that. And if I ever do that, I know it's going to take no longer than 2 years before I can keep a conversation with a native speaker. That's going to be tough, but I know I can do that. Why am I telling you this? Because in English, the same thing happens. We need motivation. That's the first thing. Now, remember, I will, whenever a lot I have several videos in which I speak about learning English, how to learn English and such and such. And every time I speak about learning English, I always talk about the two ways in which we learn a language. We learn a language by education and we learn a language by acquisition. Thing is that sometimes we just focus on one of the aspects. Okay, so I want to learn English. So I go study grammar, I go take classes and stuff. But I don't create the environment, or I don't expose myself enough to the language. That's a bad thing. I know people who know the language, but they barely speak. They don't speak a word. And whenever they can write, they're very good at writing. But whenever they're listening to somebody, a native speaker, they go like, what the heck? I don't know, what did they say? That happens. That's something that happens. And that's from the side of education. Now let's move to acquisition. Acquisition is just like we did when we were kids. And it's funny because if you see, let's take a little kid. I don't know if you have kids. If you have kids, probably you have noticed it. Maybe not. I don't know. They start talking, let's say at 2 years and stuff, right? By the age of 3, they connect sentences, very basic sentences, just basic words. By the age of 4, they start doing better, and such and such. And they are surrounded by the language. They're not learning with a teacher. You don't have a teacher teaching them what's the pronoun, what's the simple present tense, nothing, because they don't know how to speak. So basically, they're exposed to the language. That's what happened to us when we were kids. We were exposed to language, to Spanish, in the family core, the household. We were there, listening all of the time, watching and learning. Our brains are wired to learn a language. So that happened to us. The thing is that, yeah, I'm 54 right now. I speak Spanish. I know people who speak Spanish. They're native speakers, of course, and most of them speak bad Spanish, but they speak Spanish and they communicate Spanish and they understand Spanish. Being Spanish, one of the most difficult languages to learn in the world. But anyhow, whoops, sorry. So, if you're going to, let's say you right now you have to move to the United States, and you have to move to a region in which they only speak English, only English. There's nothing in Spanish there. One way or another, you have to survive, and then you're gonna have to learn the language by acquisition, and you're gonna learn mistakes. You're gonna learn things badly, but you're gonna be able to communicate. So we have the case of acquisition and education. Both work, both have their cons, and both have their pros. But the ideal thing, the ideal scenario would be if we can mix both, and that's what I look forward to whenever I think about making a video for this channel. That's what I expect when I have somebody who tells me, hey, I want you to give me classes, because that's something that I do, and we do that. But then I need to carefully think about how that person is going to learn English in the best way. And that's something that you need to think about. So we need to focus. We need to have motivation, and we need to try and find a method that allows us to use both education and acquisition. We already know Spanish, so that means that we do have already placed in our brains a linguistic program, to say, if I may say that, right? To put in words somehow. We have a software already there to say something, and it's Spanish. So whenever we already talk, right? We are able to communicate with other people. So when we are learning another language, it's a good way to understand how our language works, and then compare to the other language how it works, in order to be able to use it in a proper way. That's something that I do. So let's say in the case of object pronouns. Object pronouns are way too hard in Spanish, are so difficult to learn. But in English, they're not. So in the video that I'm right now, as right now you're watching this live video right now, but at the same time I have a video that is released today, brand new video about object pronouns, and I strongly recommend to watch the video, because that's a very interesting subject. And then you will learn a little bit about Spanish, because I show you there how object pronouns work in Spanish. So you already know how it works. You learn the basis, you understand the mechanics of the pronouns and everything. But now it's time for you to start using that. Otherwise, it's not going to stick. You're not going to learn it. Maybe you're going to memorize it, but that's not learning. And that's not how we learn a language. So we need to start speaking a lot. We need to start speaking a lot. And that's when people say, hey, you should I've seen your videos. Why you teach in Spanish? Well, yeah, I teach in Spanish because I need you to fully understand the educational part, the concept, the grammar, all this stuff. I need you to fully understand and be able to compare, because English and Spanish are similar in so many ways. We use subject, verb, object constructions. We use pronouns. We use a lot adjectives. There are some differences, of course, aside from being a different language, but there are some differences. And if you speak Spanish and you're learning English, it's way easier than if you are a native English speaker and you're learning Spanish. It's easier. But you need to start exposing to the language. You need exposure to the language. So you take your time, you watch this video, and I tell the people, I explain in Spanish because right now we're in the educational part of the learning process. So I don't really, it's not that I don't really care. I would say I'm okay with that. I'm okay with teaching in Spanish, but then we have to look for an environment in which we're going to be exposed. This is something like that. Maybe you've noticed that we've been here for 17 minutes and I haven't said a word in Spanish. And right now I don't know how much of what I've said you have understood. I don't know how much. I don't know. Hopefully a lot, maybe nothing. But then again, if I were explaining something right now, I think you would never understand what I had explained, or maybe parts of it, depending on the level you are. If you are in a basic level, and I'm explaining a complex subject, let's say like subjunctive mood, I'm pretty much sure you're gonna be like, I don't know what he said. I don't know. I barely understood what he said, and that's that. Now, does that mean that I need to be very proficient in the basic English, understanding everything to start speaking? No, doesn't mean that. If you're starting from zero, from scratch, and a very basic level, and we're starting right now, and if we are going to have classes, I'm going to be your teacher. You will see that the classes are going to be in Spanish, blah blah blah. But then I need to try to find um, a, some time for us, for you to be exposed to language, and I'll give you ideas for you to be exposed to language, and things that we need to do on a daily basis, because that's the way we learn. We learn a language being exposed and understanding, of course. So I would say that if you really have the motivation, you just need to focus on how you're going to learn language, find a good method, and mix both, combine both acquisition and education, because both are important. The more you learn, the more you're improving your skills, the more you're gonna see that the best understanding of the language is going to be give you a better skill when you're speaking the language. So let's go back to another example that I usually give whenever we're talking about learning language. I don't know. I've told you about my granddaughters. Well, they're not really my granddaughters, but I'm kind of like the step grandfather, right? But I love them. I love them as if they were my blood and my flesh and blood. I really love them. One of them is 4 years old, and the other one is 80 years old. I met them. It's gonna be like 1 year ago. They came here the 28th of September 2023. I met her. I met their I met them back then. Sorry. So when I met them back then, the youngest one was 3 years old, and the oldest one was 7 years old. Both were born in the United States. Their parents, mom is from Peru, raised in the United States. Dad is from Colombia, recently moved to the United States. So they exposed at home to English because of different things. I'm not gonna go into details, but anyhow, their main language is English. When I met them, we started speaking English, and I found out that the one that was 3 years old was very basic. She communicated, right? 1 year has passed. We talk on a daily basis, like maybe from 1 up to 3 hours a day. I spent the day I spend the most speaking to them is 3 hours. We speak about they call, hey, how are you, Mike? Whatever. I say, hey, baby, how was your day today? Oh, it was cool. How was the school? What did you do? What did you learn? What did you have for lunch? And we constantly have a conversation. Funny thing, I want to point out a few things that I find interesting around this whole process that has been going ever since I met my granddaughters. First thing, the youngest one, which is 3, has been for the past year speaking a lot. We've been talking a lot. So I told you, we talk pretty much on a daily basis, pretty much, from 1 hour up to 2 hours. And I've been able to witness her improvement in the language, In fact, today we were watching a video that we made when they came to visit us 1 year ago, and uh, I was like, oh shoot, the little one back then she barely spoke, and right now she speaks a lot. Of course, basic stuff. She speaks a lot in English, and anything that I say in English, she fully understands that. So it's amazing. That's one thing. The oldest one, the one who's 8 years old, I met her when she was 7. So it's been also a year. Oh man, her improvement has been so amazing. She's been improving a lot. She speaks a lot. We talk a lot, and there was something funny. The first few months that we were speaking, I made videos of that and everything, and I shared the videos with my friends. I have a friend who's a speech pathologist in the United States. He's English native speaker. He's a teacher and a doctor, a speech pathologist, and he saw some of the videos. In some of the videos, the oldest one, when we talk, she used to say, "Oh, that's more better. That's more better." And I said, "No, baby, it's not more better. It's much better." And my friends say, "You don't have to do that." I was like, "What?" And you don't have to do that with the kid. You don't have to tell them what to say. You don't have to do that. Just speak. You don't have just to speak. The only thing that you have to do is speak correctly, and she's gonna by listening to you and by sharing time with you, she's gonna get through that, and she's going to catch that, and that's the way she's going to acquire that. But if you go in and do the correction, that's not gonna stick. So funny thing, I stopped doing that, and yep, it improved. So it's amazing to see how we human beings deal with communication, how we learn the language, how we improve with the language. I've had several students, lots of them are now good speakers, and I've witnessed the process. So that's another thing. And the other thing is my wife. She's a real grandmother of the kids, right? Well, one of the kids. The other one is half sister. And anyhow, and she said, I remember when her granddaughter was born in the United States, she said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna learn English, blah blah, and everything. So it's cool." So I said, "Yeah, sure," but she didn't. She didn't learn. She wasn't committed enough to start classes. Anyhow, it's funny because I'm a teacher. I'm her husband, but she didn't. But for the past year that me and my granddaughters have been speaking on the daily basis, she's always around and she always speaks in Spanish. Check this out. There are several questions and words that we repeat a lot. Let's say, "Hey baby, how are you? How was school? Do you have a homework? What did you learn today? What did you have for lunch? What are you gonna do tonight?" Those kind of questions. I always repeat those questions because every day when we talk, "Hey, how are you today? How do you feel today? How was your day today at school?" The same thing, same thing. And funny thing, my wife, by being exposed to that and by listening on a steady basis, she already knows what we're talking about, and she knows that, "Hey baby, how are you?" means, "How are you?" She knows that, "How was the school?" How to use that and when to use that, and it's a good way to learn that. So we need interaction, we need exposure to language, and tonight I just wanted to make a I could say I just wanted to make a point. Eduardo, tonight we're just in English, so and I see you understood what I said, but please, just in English. We're just in English, and we're pretty much about to finish. I just wanted to make a point. First, whenever you want me to speak in English, I can do that because I speak English. I might not be, yeah, in English, please, in English. I might not be the best English speaker, but I know the language. I've been enjoying learning the language for the past 41 years. I have English native speakers friends, very good friends, whom with I speak a lot on a daily basis. My granddaughters speak in English, and um, I teach English. English. So whenever you want me to speak English with you, just give me a call. I'm gonna be around. We can do that. Now, when it comes to classes and the things that we learn in the videos, I'm always going to explain in Spanish because once again, I need to make sure that you're going to fully understand regardless of the level you are. Because the video is being watched by anybody, and that anybody can be either a zero level or immediate level or medium advanced or whatever. So it doesn't matter. I go with a low end, and I rather have the full thing in Spanish in order to be fully understood. Of course, if I'm teaching a concept, I'm going to use English words, and I'm going to show the English words and explain the whole thing, the structure and everything, and the grammar behind the concept. But everything is going to be in Spanish. If you want me if you want to listen to me Spanish, speaking in English more, you can either check the podcast in which I do that, or you can visit my other channel, Spanish with Mike, in which I teach Spanish to English native speakers, and I go full in English over there. So it's a good way also for practicing your listening comprehension. But you need to start speaking, and you need to expose the language. So that's pretty much it. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. Hope you had a good time. I really had. So remember, I just see one like. That's weird because there's a lot of people that has been here. So please give me a like at least. Yeah, I just see a like. If you are here, it's not gonna cost you anything. It's for free. So if you like the video, you know what to do. Please share with your friends, group, social media. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Click the bell button in order to get notifications, because we're posting videos on a weekly basis. Plus, we have live sessions like this, in which if you are a subscriber, you're able and allowed to use the chat window. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do that. So, look, it's been a pleasure tonight. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Watch the videos, study. Have a great weekend, and thank you for being here tonight. Bye.